When was the last time you thought about what you breathe inside your home? Not the air outside, the air inside. Your living room, your kitchen, your bedroom. Most people assume the air in their home is clean. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency published something very few people know. The air inside the average home contains between 2 and 5 times more pollutants than outdoor air. And after 50, when the immune system no longer has the same response capacity it had at 30, that daily toxic load starts collecting a bill that almost nobody is paying attention to. In a moment, you're going to know exactly what toxins, where they come from, and what they do to the immune system. But first, I want you to understand something that's going to change the way you see your home. We spend between 85 and 90% of our time in enclosed spaces. For adults over 65, that number goes even higher. Home isn't just where we rest. It's the environment where we spend the most hours every day, and that environment, without us having consciously chosen it, is full of chemical compounds the body has to process, neutralize, and eliminate constantly. When you're young, the liver, the kidneys, and the immune system handle that load without much trouble. They have plenty of capacity to spare, but after 50, that capacity drops. Not dramatically overnight, but gradually, the same way muscle mass drops, bone density drops, or the flexibility of the eye lens drops. And when detoxification capacity drops, the toxins the body used to process effortlessly start to accumulate. And that accumulation has specific consequences for the immune system that science has been documenting for years. What I'm going to tell you today isn't conspiracy theory or internet alarmism or more of those fake news posts that flood social media. These are data published in journals like Environmental Health Perspectives, The Lancet, and JAMA Internal Medicine, with specific names, with specific mechanisms, and with very concrete changes you can make in your home this week, most of them without spending a single dollar. Before we talk about toxins, I need you to understand what's happening to the immune system after 50, because that context is what makes today's topic so relevant. The immune system has two major branches: innate immunity, the fast response, the first line of defense, and adaptive immunity, the specific response, the one that manufactures antibodies and memorizes pathogens. After 50, both branches age. Scientists call this process of immune system aging immunosenescence. What does that mean in practice? It means infections take longer to resolve, that vaccines produce fewer antibodies, that the body takes longer to recognize and destroy abnormal cancer cells that naturally form. That low-grade chronic inflammation, what some researchers call inflammaging, becomes harder to control. And here's the connection almost nobody mentions. Household environmental toxins accelerate immunosenescence. They don't cause it. Immune system aging happens regardless, but they accelerate it in a measurable way. A study published in Environmental Health Perspectives in 2021 found that adults over 55 with greater exposure to volatile organic compounds, those released from cleaning products, paints, and household air fresheners, had immunosenescence markers comparable to people 10 years older than them, 10 years of accelerated immune aging from the air in their home. In this video, we're going to talk about the specific sources, not all of the possible ones that would take hours, but the ones with the most scientific evidence and the most presence in the average home. Cleaning products are the first and the most underestimated. Chlorine, ammonia, synthetic fragrances, organochlorine compounds found in multi-purpose cleaners Degreasers and bleach are compounds that, when inhaled or absorbed through the skin, activate aryl hydrocarbon receptors in immune cells. What that does in simple language is this: it dysregulates the immune response. It increases the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines and reduces the activity of NK cells, the natural killer cells that are the first defense against viruses and cancer cells. A study published in Occupational and Environmental Medicine in 2020 followed more than 6,000 adults for 20 years and found that regular use of spray cleaning products at home was associated with a 14% reduction in lung function, comparable to the effect of smoking between 10 and 20 cigarettes a day, and with elevated markers of systemic inflammation. But it's not just what you use to clean, it's what you cook with. Pans and pots coated with Teflon, polytetrafluoroethylene or PTFE, when heated above 500 degrees Fahrenheit, release perfluorinated compounds into the kitchen air. Those compounds, known as PFAS or forever chemicals because the body can't break them down, accumulate in fatty tissue and in the liver, and they have a documented effect on the immune system. They reduce antibody production in response to vaccines and infections. A study published in JAMA Internal Medicine in 2020 found that children with higher concentrations of PFAS in their blood produced up to 50% fewer antibodies in response to vaccines. If that happens in children, imagine the effect on an immune system that's already had 50 years of use. Air fresheners are the third point, and this is the one that makes my patients most uncomfortable when I bring it up, because many use them every day, and honestly, I get it. They smell really nice. Spray air fresheners, plug-ins, and synthetic scented candles release volatile organic compounds, including formaldehyde, benzene, and oxidized limonene. Formaldehyde is a known carcinogen, so is benzene. And although concentrations in the home are low, the exposure is daily and continuous, which is exactly the type of exposure that most affects the immune system after 50 because it doesn't give it time to recover between episodes. Plastics in the kitchen deserve special mention, specifically those containing BPA and phthalates. When plastic is heated in the microwave with hot water with acidic foods, it releases those compounds into the food. Phthalates are endocrine disruptors. They interfere with hormones, and since the immune system is partly regulated by hormones, that interference has direct immune consequences. A study from the National Institutes of Health published in 2022 found that adults over 60 with higher phthalate levels in urine had significantly lower levels of regulatory T cells, the cells that prevent the immune system from attacking the body itself. The immune system doesn't have an obvious alarm signal like joint pain or skin itching. Its deterioration is silent. But there are signs that, seen together, paint a clear picture. Do you get sick more often than before? Colds, flu, infections, and take longer to recover? That's immunosenescence in action. A young immune system resolves a cold in 3 or 4 days. An aged one can take 10 or 14. If that's been happening more frequently in recent years, it's worth asking what factors are accelerating that aging. Do you have recurring infections, urinary, respiratory, skin, that you didn't have before? Recurring infections are a classic signal of compromised immune function. The system isn't clearing pathogens well. Do wounds take longer to heal than before? Wound healing is an immune process. It requires inflammatory cells, growth factors, and coordination between different branches of the immune system. When that process slows down, it's a sign the immune system isn't working efficiently. Do you have allergies you never had before, or that got worse after 50? Immunosenescence doesn't just weaken the response against pathogens, it also dysregulates immune tolerance. The system that used to ignore pollen or dust can start reacting to them. Allergies that appear in late adulthood are frequently a sign of immune dysregulation, not just sensitization to new allergens. Do you have chronic fatigue that doesn't improve with rest? Immune cells consume an enormous amount of energy. When the immune system is under chronic stress, from toxins, from inflammation, from immunosenescence, the body diverts resources toward it and leaves you without energy for everything else. Let's get to what's important and why you clicked on this video. What actually makes a difference after all this information? The first and most impactful change is also the simplest. Ventilate your home. Opening windows for 15 minutes every morning significantly reduces the concentration of volatile organic compounds in indoor air. Most of the toxins we mentioned, the volatiles from cleaning products, air fresheners, pans, accumulate precisely because indoor air doesn't get renewed. You don't need an expensive purifier to start. You need to open a window. That's the change with the best cost to impact ratio for indoor air quality. Cleaning products are the second action point. White vinegar, baking soda, and water with a few drops of lemon or lavender essential oil. Those three ingredients replace 80% of household cleaning products with equal or greater disinfecting effectiveness for everyday use, without any of the compounds that affect the immune system. I'm not inventing anything new. Those are the products previous generations used, and it's no coincidence that those generations weren't exposed to the same household toxic loads we are. Pans deserve a change worth making even if it costs something. Cast iron, pure ceramic, or stainless steel pans don't release perfluorinated compounds when heated. A well-seasoned cast iron pan lasts decades, doesn't scratch, distributes heat better, and actually becomes more non-stick with use over time. You don't need to change everything at once. Start with the pan you use most. Synthetic air fresheners, plug-ins, sprays, artificially scented candles can be replaced with indoor plants. NASA published a study, the famous Clean Air Study, that identified the plants with the greatest capacity to filter volatile organic compounds from the air: English ivy, pothos, snake plant, peace lily, and chrysanthemum. 1 or 2 plants per room aren't going to solve the entire indoor air problem, but they contribute in a real way and have the added benefit of being visually calming, which lowers cortisol. And as we saw in the kidney video, that also affects the immune system. Remember that video will be showing up at the top or in the comments box, so you can go check it out. Staying on the topic, plastics in the kitchen have a direct solution: glass, ceramic, or stainless steel for heating food. Never plastic in the microwave, even if it says microwave safe. That label certifies the plastic won't melt, not that it won't release compounds. For storing cold food, plastic has less impact, but if you can make the switch to glass, better. And I'll close with something that connects everything above directly to the immune system, the nutrients that support immune function and detoxification at the same time. Broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, and Brussels sprouts contain sulforaphane, a compound that activates the NRF2 pathway in the liver, which is exactly the pathway that processes and eliminates the toxic compounds we talked about today. Garlic contains a lysine that stimulates NK cell production. Zinc, in pumpkin seeds, oysters, beef, is a cofactor for more than 300 enzymatic reactions in the immune system. Eating these foods regularly doesn't eliminate household toxin exposure, but it does increase the body's capacity to process them. It's the difference between a detoxification system running at 60% and one running at 90%. So, I want you to think about something you've probably never thought about this way. Your home is the environment where your body tries to recover. It's where you sleep, where your immune system works at night to clean and repair, where your liver processes the day's waste. And if that environment is full of compounds giving extra work to a system that already has enough protecting you, recovery is never complete. The system never fully rests, and a system that never rests ages faster. I'm not telling you to live in fear of your own home. I'm telling you that with small changes, opening a window, switching the cleaner, adding a plant, changing the pan, you can turn that recovery space into something that genuinely supports the system you need most after 50. I've seen patients who spent years with recurring infections, new allergies, fatigue that wouldn't go away, and who improved notably after making exactly those changes. It wasn't the medication I prescribed, it was what they stopped breathing. Your immune system has been protecting you for 50 years. Every virus that didn't kill you, every bacteria it neutralized before you felt anything, every abnormal cell it eliminated without you even knowing. It has done all of that in silence, asking nothing in return, except that you don't sabotage it from the place where it most needs to work. The immune system doesn't break down suddenly. It wears down day by day, breath by breath, in the environment where you spend the most hours, and it can be protected exactly the same way, one small change at a time, starting in your own home. Share this with someone who lives with you, because the changes I mentioned today are household changes, not individual ones. And tell me in the comments, which of the household toxin sources I mentioned today surprised you most? Drop it below. Subscribe if you want more content like this. Take care of yourself.